On this week's episode of A Win is a Win, well, Aaron Rodgers has alluded to another return from his ruptured Achilles tendon. We'll see what happens there. Big Ten is adding pressure to Michigan right now to provide answers into the sign stealing allegations, although Michigan is given a hard press back. We'll jump into that. We'll go over this week's injuries. And oh, yes, some crazy bets went down last week. And we are going to take a look at ESPN's ridiculous rankings. It's time for A Win is a Win. Let's go, y'all.
It's time for the Rookie Rundown.
Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. Well, we have another week of sports action in the books, and I cannot wait to jump into it. But first, like, subscribe, and share this podcast. And don't forget to tell somebody else to join A Win is a Win family. And somewhere up there at the top, there's a bell where you need all the necessary notifications. Let's get into these rookies. Now, no rookie was better than the Houston Texans and Ohio State QB CJ Stroud in week 9. Stroud completed 30 out of his 42 total passes for 470 yards and 5 touchdowns. Not to mention that one of those wound up being the last second game-winning touchdown to help them beat the Bucks. Now, it felt like anytime he dropped back to pass, the ball was going right into the hands of a receiver down the field. That boy is something special. Another rookie that flew under the radar was the Green Bay Packers cornerback, Valentine. Yes, Carrington Valentine got targeted 8 times against the LA Rams, and he didn't even give up a single reception in any of those targets. My Lord. Now, he came away with a handful of pass breakups and even racked up a tackle for a loss on a huge run stop. Now, he's not a known name, but that doesn't mean that he's not known. Though he really came to play last week, he showed up. Finally, let's get into another young cornerback by the name of Darrell Baker. Now, the Colts cornerback got targeted 8 times as well against the Panthers, and out of those 8 targets, he gave up just 4 catches for a total of 19 yards. Now, he was breaking hard on opposing receiver routes and played a confidence that, he might be lacking earlier in the season, but I think he found it in this game. So yet again, these rookies understanding their assignment, showing up and showing out. Campus Gridiron coming up next.
Let's see what's up with our Campus Gridiron.
Big noon kickoff is set, and we are flying where? Well, we're going to Happy Valley. Yes, we are flying into Happy Valley to see those Wolverines take on the Nittany Lions. Now, Michigan is currently undefeated with a flawless 9-0 record, and those Lions are right on their heels, and they are 8-1. Now, the ranked matchup is bound to be incredibly exciting. I, for one, will be watching this game along with, of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. But listen, in this game, both squads are consistently scoring over 30 points a night. Definitely, in my opinion, will be a huge shootout. Now, on the heels of this game comes some drama because the University of Michigan clapped back at Tony Petiti and said, "Hold on, sir. Wait a minute. Now you're going to give us due process in this investigation into sign stealing." Now, the university sent the commissioner a 10 page scathing letter about overstepping his authority and rushing judgment, insisting that he cannot discipline Harbaugh under the conference's sportsmanship policy for alleged sign stealing scheme, that rocked all of college football last week. Now, he was quoted in the letter by saying the conference should act cautiously when setting precedent given the reality that in person scouting, collusion among opponents, and other questionable practices may well be far from prevalent than believed. Now, this is what he said in the letter, and of course, the Wolverines now must wait for Petiti, the Big Ten's first year commissioner, by the way, to decide whether to punish them quickly or wait for NCAA to complete its investigation. The most likely penalty would be suspension for Harbaugh. But in my opinion, I think Harbaugh might be headed to the NFL. Who knows? Who knows? Listen, we will see how it plays out. Okay? Sports news coming up next. Want to get started on your weight loss journey? We all do. Well, we know weight loss can be difficult, but medical advancements have created an absolute game changer. Yes, semaglutide is a once a week shot that can lower your A1C, curb your appetite, cravings, slow digestion, and can help you feel full sooner and longer. How do you sign up? Go to DrT23.site. That is DRT23.site. Go ahead and click semaglutide, get signed up for your weight loss goals.
Let's get into the sports news.
Well, Chase Young has some interesting comments about his new team, as you might have heard. He was traded to the 49ers. Now, Young mentioned that it felt good to be around a winning culture and a team that's just built differently. When asking head coach Ron Rivera, the Washington Commanders' lead man that traded away Young, he said he doesn't care much for his former players' comments. And in fact, he said, quote, "I like the direction we're headed." Well, okay, Ron, despite having a losing record on the season, only time will tell how this trade will work out for either team. Some other positive news is coming out of Jacksonville organization. The team announced that they are going to be inducting head coach Tom Coughlin into their franchise's Ring of Honor at some point next year. Now, he's the winningest coach in the team's history with a 72-64 overall record across 8 seasons, not to mention bringing them to an AFC title game in multiple seasons. Now, it's wonderful that he'll be getting his moment in 2024 to be immortalized. Now, I, excuse me, guys, had to save this for my last mention in sports news because I cannot wrap my head around Aaron Rodgers. Let me set this up for you. Jets game this past week. Not to mention, they're already in an uproar because of the Wilson situation. Okay. But you see Aaron Rodgers on the field throwing the football, dropping back, pivoting on his right Achilles. And oh, I don't understand. Here's my thought. I'm going to say it and I am going to stand on it. Somebody lying. Someone is lying. Here's why. When you have a completely torn, ruptured Achilles tendon, you cannot do any of what he is doing. What you are saying, you cannot do with a ruptured Achilles tendon. It's not the dolphins he's listening to. It's not the ayahuasca that he's ingesting. That injury cannot correlate with a ruptured Achilles. I'm sorry. Ahead of the New York Jets primetime game against the Chargers, he was seen throwing 50-yard passes down the field during pregame warmups. Now, Aaron, you could have done that on Sunday. You could have done that on Tuesday, Wednesday, any day, but prime time football. You choose to strategically place yourself in front of cameras so that people can see, look at me. I'm throwing the ball. I'm dropping back in the pocket. I can pivot. I can turn. Okay, I see all of that, Aaron. Put some pads on, get a helmet on, get your gear on, and have some rushers coming towards you. And let's see if you can do the same thing and trust that Achilles, if it indeed was that in the first place. I'll continue. Now, of course, this happened just a handful of weeks after he tore his Achilles, allegedly. And it feels like he's trying to imply that he's superhuman. On top of that, he jokingly told Derwin James that he might be returning to play in just a couple of weeks. Why say it? Why? Why? Unfortunately, he later informed that he was just kidding and feels like he's still in a good distance away from feeling like himself again on the field. Still, he's continuing to work his way through this quote unquote speedy recovery. Now, you said it, you took it back. Then later on again, you said it again that you just might be back in enough time to try and make an appearance. What's up, Aaron? What's going on? Stop playing these little media games. If your Achilles is torn, let it heal and be quiet. No one needs to see you on the field pre-game throwing 50-yard passes. It is unnecessary. At this point, just let the season play out however it's going to play out. Let the decisions that need to be made, and come back when you're healthy. Injury report up next.
Who's hurt? Who's ready to go? Time for the injury report.
Cincinnati Bengal T. Higgins is expected to be ruled out for this weekend's game against the Texans. Now, Higgins is currently suffering from a hamstring injury and didn't practice on Wednesday at all. Without him and with Jamar Chase battling his own minor back injury, the Bengals could face a little bit of difficulty this weekend, but I do believe that they'll pull out the W. After so much time, we'll be seeing Murray play quarterback for the Cardinals this weekend. Now, he's prepping to get the first start under center in the past 10 months following a torn ACL in December of last year. Now, there's no telling how rusty Murray might be in the first game, but it's an unbelievably exciting return, not just for the team, but the Arizona Cardinals fans. Finally, there's an update to Vikings receiver Jefferson. Now, the superstar player who's missed the past few games, Jefferson was just activated off the IR list, giving him a 3-week window to get back onto the field. Now, it is up in the air whether or not he'll play this weekend against the Saints. I do not foresee that. Jefferson said he's not going to play unless he's absolutely sure he's 100% and ready to go. Now, he won't play at 80 or 90%, as some reporters are saying he's good enough to play at about 75 to 90%. No, you have to let a person heal. Minnesota can't wait for him to get back for sure, but you do not want to press the issue. And that's going to lead me into this statement here. A lot of times in the media, there is harsh commentary on the length of time that is assumed it takes a player to heal based on what's being said in locker rooms. Well, the sad fact is there's a medical opinion and then there's the healing of the body. And neither of those two involve media opinions when it's time for a player to get back on the court or the field. Betmaster's up next. Just when you got comfortable and you were getting ready to get into some bets, I am interrupting with sounding off with Tiff. Let me tell you guys this much right here. ESPN's football power index rankings came out and just about burned all the rest of the grits that I have in the pot. Let's go into this and look at how they have these teams ranked because my head was, I couldn't scratch it hard enough. I couldn't unsee what I saw. I put my glasses on to make sure made sure I was looking at it the correct way and reading it. Whoever made this list, it had to be an intern or someone who knows nothing about football. Let's look at it. Number 1 ranked, the Chiefs. 2 ranked, Baltimore Ravens. Here is where we're going to fall all the way. We're up the cliff. Walk with me, guys. We're up the cliff. Here's where we're going to fall off. Ranked at number 3, Buffalo Bills. Hard silent. Number 4, the San Francisco 49ers. They've ranked the Dolphins at number 5. The Cowboys at number 6, ahead of ranked number 7, the Eagles. 8 are the Chargers. My head's hurting. The Cincinnati Bengals, they have ranked at number 9, and number 10, they have the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Bengals beat number 3 and number 4, but are at number 9, and the Eagles beat number 5 and number 6, but are at number 7. My head hurts. Listen, I am sick. ESPN football power index already blew up college football rankings. And now you're doing it again to the NFL. Listen, um, ESPN analyst or whoever's in charge of this list, please, this is crazy. It is insane. I don't even understand how any KPIs or analytics or whatever data you use to pull this information made you think that it was okay to post this as a win for sports fans who know better. Like, do you think that fans can't see the record? Do you think that fans don't watch games? More so, do you think that this even makes sense? Where are the Lions, the Detroit Lions, and why are the Bills at number 3? Stop posting content for clicks. Join me on DraftKings. Go to Dr. T23.site. That is DRT23.site. Go ahead and click join me on DraftKings and get your $200 bonus bet when you bet $5 instantly on DraftKings Sportsbook money lines, totals, and same game parlays. DraftKings has the action.
It's a bet. Time for Bet Masters.
One game that I'm definitely interested in this weekend is the battle between the Browns and the Ravens. This is a divisional rival like no other. If you are a Cleveland fan, and I am from Cleveland, although I don't live there anymore, you remember waking up at 6 in the morning and having no football team. Why? Because Art Modell sold us out and took the team to Baltimore. And so we've been out for blood ever since. These are the two best defenses in the league by far, but offense for these teams have been very different. For starters, Watson and the Browns' offense have been horribly inconsistent, and that's if and when Deshaun decides that he wants to play. And the Browns' offense have been horribly inconsistent again without Nick Chubb at running back. Meanwhile, the Ravens are coming off back to back dominant wins against the Lions and the Seahawks. With this game also taking place in Baltimore, I love my Browns. So, straight up money line, taking the Browns with the W. Another game that might get you some money in the sports book is the Giants and the Cowboys. If you're planning to bet on this game, you should absolutely roll with the Cowboys. Do you remember they dropped 40 on the Giants in week 1? And the Giants had Daniel Jones in that matchup. This time around, they'll be starting Tommy DeVito. This will be a blowout, and Dallas will get a W. And a little fan of mine, a big fan of the show, said this is going to be a revenge game for Dallas for losing to the Eagles. And I absolutely agree. Lastly, I like the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Green Bay Packers. Now, Pittsburgh has one of the best defenses in the league with a very suspect offense. Now, they cannot consistently get points on the board at all. On the other hand, the Packers look like they are having a very tough time winning games, period. They were locked in a really tight game against Brett Ripien. I can never say his name. Ripien, and the Rams. Now, had Matthew Stafford started the game, Green Bay likely would probably have lost. Still, this will be a defensive oriented match, but one that the Steelers should win. Now, listen, let's talk about some craziness when it comes to betting. Now, this past week has been nothing shy of, in my opinion, some elementary betting going on. And I mean elementary, not in the sense that they don't know what they're doing, but elementary meaning people aren't thinking when placing different bets. And my goodness, here's one. There was an insane bet on yesterday's Thursday night football. A Florida bettor put 100K to win 1.6 million. He took the Panthers money line, the over at 37.5, Young at over 215.5 passing yards, Young over 1.5 passing touchdowns, Bears teams total under 20.5, and Eddie Pinerio over 5.5 points. People, please do your homework when you're betting. And yes, it's okay to throw in a little haymaker in here and there, but I mean, if you have 100,000 that you just want to put up just because you can, by all means do so. But just remember, only bet what you're willing to lose. Coming up next, we're going to get into our NBA recap. Are you searching for some new NFL gear? Well, go to drT23.site. That is DRT23.site. Click the NFL shop link there. Enter your code NFL30 to get 30% off of your purchase. Let's get back to the show. Lastly, let's go over our NBA in-season tournament games that's currently happening. Now, most people aren't exactly a fan, but it's entertaining, and the league is attempting to add more competitive drive to the regular season. They added some brand new colorful courts, which I am not a fan of some of them, for each team to play when they play a tournament game, and the competition has been strong so far. While I'm confused as to why they choose to do it so early in the season, I do like the idea. However, there's still some work to be done to really hammer down a lot of the details because many people don't exactly understand what the rules even are or what prizes is for the winning. And in my opinion, I believe that they are trying to compete with the big three. You know that there's some drama between Ice Cube and Adam Silver, but I do think that this has potential to grow into something. I do think that they should do it later in the season. NBA question that will be in this episode. Go over to the poll and submit your response. Do you think that the struggling Lakers that are 0-5 on the road can turn it around without playing King James for so many minutes? Looking forward to seeing your answers. That's going to do it for this week's episode of A Win is a Win. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and hit that notification bell to get your necessary notifications.